Hi, this is Kathy, and I'd like to take about 5 minutes to explain to you an idea I've been thinking about for about 10 years, and it has to do with a whole new model for our education system. I call it a whole new paradigm because it requires a paradigm shift. Let me give you an example. So what if you have kids in school and you would like an alternative to the public school system? Well, pretty much your options are limited to either you put them in a private school, which usually costs a lot of money, or you can essentially quit your job and stay home and teach them full time. That's not a viable option for many people. Maybe they say, I want my kids to have a great education, and I know that if I had to be the teacher, I wouldn't know how to do it. So what I've been describing are some of the dilemmas that parents go through all the time. Well, let's look at the school model currently. In this beginning graphic, I want you to see that basically public schools are the center of activity. All the kids go to the school, right? It's mandatory. Well, let's look at some of the problems here. You have, obviously, government control. Government is putting a lot of legal and financial mandates on the schools. Not to mention there's also a mandatory attendance. Who says the best way to learn is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, essentially 8 hours a day? Who says that's the best? In return, the school has some problems. Those are represented by the green arrows. We have the problem of drugs and guns and violence. Another problem we have is poorly educated students. We all know that the more mandates that are put on the school system, the harder it is for them to actually teach the kids. I feel like they're teaching to the test instead of really grounding them in a good education. Let me give you an example. How about American history? How well do you think our students really understand American history? True American history. American history that has not been rewritten by revisionists. Another problem is we're not allowed to speak the name of God in schools unless, of course, it's a religious private school. Many school systems take issue with even saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Schools have become so politically correct, you're not allowed to mention the word God or religion, not to mention values and morals. Do you think our kids are coming out of the public school system grounded with good values and morals? And values and morals that resonate with us, our families, and our traditions? We see problems with the teachers' unions and what that does to the cost of education. Social indoctrination. We're not allowed to teach our children our own customs, our own family values. For instance, the school systems are marching in step, teaching our kids about global warming. Do you personally believe in global warming? Now, I could personally say, yes, I do, but I don't believe that humans are the cause of it. I believe the Earth climate changes all the time, but it is not necessarily due to bovine flatulence. Another problem is the pregnancy rate, the teen pregnancy rate. And I'm sure you can add other problems and other regulations. Folks, this model does not work anymore. So let me show you what my idea is. What if a teacher who is licensed, what if she wanted to set up a small business? She could set herself up as a DBA business or an LLC, but what if he or she wants to hang their shingle and start their own business? Well, let's see how that might work. Currently, all taxpayers pay a certain amount per child in their district toward the Department of Education. Whether you have kids in school or not, through your taxes, you are paying money for the kids to go to the school. Well, in this new paradigm, we would allow parents to determine where they want that money sent. If they want their children to go to the local public school, fine. Then their tax money that's allocated for education can support the local school. What if parents choose this other option? What if they choose to enroll their children in someone they know? Someone they know, they trust, they know what a good teacher he or she is. They have a personal relationship with this person. They're friends, or they go to the same church, or they live in the same block. They've heard a lot of good things. They choose this teacher to educate their children. In that situation, those parents would be able to take the money and have that money sent to this small business, this licensed teacher. One or two students from the same family is not going to be enough for this small business to really be self-sufficient. So let's allow this licensed teacher, small business, let's allow her or him to take on more students, probably something like 10 or 12 students. Now she's able to make a respectable wage. Once this teacher owns her own business, small business, she can teach more than just her own kids. This small business can now accept other children and receive the money from those kids as parents. In this way, she can go into business for herself, work from home, and teach a core group of kids. Now parents can choose what teacher they want to educate their child. And since you'll have parent involvement, parents are choosing a teacher who resonates their family values, their morals, perhaps their religious persuasion. Well, this parent control of the money, of the tax money that they're paying for their children, has been called the voucher system. That's what it is. Essentially what I'm talking about is a decentralized model. Parents choose which teacher, small business, they want to send their children to. So what would happen to the current school buildings? Well, I imagine there may always be some parents who prefer to have their children going to the local school system. So you will have some classes running concurrently in the building. Maybe some of the DBA teachers doing business as a small business. Maybe some of these teachers may want to rent out some of the rooms if you have schools that have an overabundance of empty rooms now. But that's for a later brainstorm session. The schools would offer services that the DBA businesses don't have. And the DBA teachers would sign up for certain services as they need them. That's what PRN is, as you need it. So for instance, the schools will still offer the map testing and the grade level testing. So you have, on occasions, all these DBAs getting together at the schools to partake in certain services like testing. You could have music lessons there at the school. Sports would still get together there. Science classrooms, this would be a wonderful opportunity. Probably most DBA schools don't have science labs as equipped as what the schools have. The schools usually have pretty good science labs. You could almost use like a library system where people are checking out science rooms at different times for their students. The DBA teachers would take on certain days, they have the science lab scheduled, they would take their students to one of the science labs and have lessons there that day. They could even collaborate. You have several DBA teachers with kids at the same level doing the same experiments. They could have a joint classroom. Look at the library. Schools have wonderful library services. The kids could use the library service for research and other activities. Assemblies, of course. Guest speakers. Like, let's say, for instance, you have an author who's in town. The DBA teachers who have students that would benefit from that author, they would sign up for that assembly. Special education. So again, you could have music and band and theater that's not on this list. I said sports activities. So basically, the school would be a hub of activity, all kinds of activity going on. The current schools would be essentially one huge resource center and a hub of activity. So let's review some of the problems and contrast that with this new paradigm system with the DBA, small businesses. The public schools, again we said drugs, guns, violence. Our children are being poorly educated. The problem of teachers' unions, social indoctrination, being taught information that we may not agree with at all. Unwed pregnancies, not able to teach values, morals, or speak the word of God in a classroom. You don't have any of those problems with the DBA teacher when you pick the teacher that resonates with your values, your morals, your family traditions. Not only do we not have these problems, but we have some added benefits. We're helping people get started in small businesses. The parents are able to be much more involved. Friendships develop between the students, less bullying. The children are much better adjusted and happier, and it costs less. What do I think we would need? I think we would need a voucher system. I think it would take a gradual implementation as opposed to a mandatory conversion all in one day. I think it's important that the DBA teacher must hold credentials. She needs to be a credentialed teacher. I personally think the students would still take the MAP exams. Now, I'm not saying the MAP exams would stay the same, so students should still take grade level exams, I think. This would remedy a lot of problems. Overcrowding schools, dumping millions of dollars into school systems that just keep getting worse. The exposure our kids have to drugs and violence, it's much less likely in a home-based system. American history, respect for our flag and our country could again be taught to pull kids out of our indoctrination of hate America but learn sex at an early age curriculum that's being taught now. That can be stopped. Let's stop trying to fix a broken system, and instead let's build something for the 21st century that will work. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you.